Hi, welcome to Peak Moment. I'm Janaea Donaldson and I'm in Eugene talking to someone who has created some marvelous buildings. This is Maitreya Ecovillage and I'm with Robert Bolman. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And so what is Maitreya? What does it mean to you and what is this?
Maitreya is supposed to be the new emerging incarnation of the Buddha, who will be incarnated as a loving, nurturing community of people instead of an individual this time. So we thought it was an ideal name for our little eco-village here.
So tell me about your eco-village. What is this?
Well, it consists of 5 city tax lots, one of which is still vacant, but there are about 25 or 30 people living here, depending on this time of year.
In a variety of different structures.
Yeah, some existing buildings, which I've been renovating, and then some new buildings, which I've built in a rather environmentally innovative way.
So tell me about the building we're in front of here. You built this.
Well, this is the first major building that I built here. I got the permit in '96, and it's a straw bale and earthen building. One of the main philosophical underpinning behind natural building being the more radical end of the green building spectrum, is that you'll use natural materials, the assumption being that they're more environmentally benign, more non-toxic, more sustainable, and so forth. And so the beauty of this building is that it entails straw and a lot of different earthen materials, earthen plaster, earthen floor, and an approach to earthen construction called Cobb. The idea being that when this building reaches the end of its lifespan, the wood and the hardware and the metal can get recycled, but the vast majority of the building materials will simply decompose back into the earth.
So you're just nurturing the earth back from which it came, in a way.
Trying to achieve a type of building that is genuinely sustainable instead of something that's like sustainability light, which is not at all sustainable, but a lot of people often do. So
what would be an example of sustainability light versus natural building?
Oh, there's, building an average cracker box track house, but you use, maybe you use non-toxic paint or carpeting that's made out of recycled soda pop bottles, and in other words, bottles that should not have been manufactured in the first place.
Okay.
And then you pat yourself on the back saying, oh, what a good environmentalist I am, and every time you come home, your garage door pops open and your hybrid car goes in there, and I feel that genuine, meaningful sustainability is going to not look anything like what we're doing now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Let's go on and see some part of the village.
Oh, sure. Let's walk around. Okay. So we go off camera for a moment?
Yeah.
Okay.
What fun. What fun. Okay. So what beautiful building we have here. Tell me about it.
Well, this is the second building that I built, the second serious building, and I designed it using a lot of the pattern language guidelines. My favorite pattern being the one called positive outdoor space, which is illustrated by the shape of the front of the building, where all 3 of the doors are in this kind of an articulated L shape, where they all encourage people to congregate at this courtyard out here.
Which is sweet. It's about a circle too. So
a circle, and there's a fire pit in the center if you pull that wooden cover off.
Nice.
And it's not a straw bale building, but it's made out of 95% of the wood is either recycled or harvested in a gentle manner. And I did achieve a high insulation value using this rather innovative framing design, where I used, instead of 2x6 studs, I used pairs of 2x3s held apart by these little gussets, and then we blew cellulose insulation into the cavity, so it fills in this cavity. And
so this is the width of the thickness of the wall.
So the walls are only 2 inches thicker than a standard modern wooden house,
but you've got the
and yet it has a disproportionately higher insulation value because of this cavity here. A major loss of heat in a stud wall system is right through the studs. And so this cavity helps mitigate that. It's especially a problem with steel stud buildings. You have to put foam on the outside of them to mitigate that. So that's that. And then one important thing I like to talk about with this building, it does have earthen floors and big logs holding up the ceiling, but what I'm most proud of is that all the windows, the exterior doors, and the cabinets were all built on site. Instead of coming from some toxic, yucky factory hundreds of miles away on the back of a smoke-belching truck, they're built right here by hippies in Eugene, Oregon. And I consider this what I call a decentralized, more appropriate scale of economics, where again the economy is staying right here in the local community.
That's right.
Basically, I put my friends to work doing
Hey,
it.
I like that. Well, and then you've got their energy here as well as their craftsmanship.
And then you want to peek inside the door? Can we do that with the video camera?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
Okay, let's see. Hello. If you look in the door, just so you get a sense, it has an earthen floor.
Right.
It's earth, sand, and straw that is congealed together with hard, dry linseed oil, and then topped off with beeswax. And then up above, there are logs holding up the second floor.
Yes.
So people get the beauty of all that exposed natural wood. And the logs sort of honor our timber heritage here in Oregon. So that's what this is about.
Thank
then
you.
we have this little machine in the center of the room that takes solar energy that has been conveniently stored in these round logs and then magically converts it into warmth and comfort.
The wood stove.
It's a wood stove.
Yes. In a wood environment.
Yeah.
It's the perfect thing.
Yeah. We don't have a lot of solar energy here during the winter, but we do store solar energy in the form of our wood resources, and it's of course carbon neutral. Where CO2 emissions and greenhouse gases are concerned. Yeah. Okay, shall we continue?
Okay. Look at the size of those onions.
Yeah, we grow a lot of onions in addition to weeds here at Maitreya.
Well, you've got more than that. You've got nice lettuces and big beans and it's
we
just
have kitty cats too. Yeah.
Hey, meowser. Okay. Hey, meowser. Oh, this is good kitty cat territory.
Yeah. We have this compost master here who has compost down to a science. He stacks it up just with this scientific methodology and then sticks a thermometer into it.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you know he's just cooking the way he wants to.
He's cooking it just hot enough to kill certain microbes, but not so hot that it kills everything. He just absolutely knows where he wants it.
We need him to teach everybody.
Yeah. Well, we have some people here who are playing around with making these cardboard domes. They're domes made out of cardboard and recycled wood and recycled bucket lids. I don't know how they're ever going to waterproof them, but that's kind of a footnote to our innovative building that we're doing here. And then here's a little addition that was done to one of our existing houses using a system that's typical of historical German houses, where they used wood chips rolled in clay slip and then rammed into forms to create a wall system about 12 inches thick that has a substantial insulation value. And then here again is our homemade windows that we'd like to do a lot of here at Maitreya.
Okay.
And now right over here
is
there,
here?
Yeah, you want to just walk that way.
And where are we now? What's this?
Well, this is our little Cobb guest cottage. This is arguably the most environmentally radical thing we have here. Cobb is a system of taking earth, sand, and straw and sculpting it into a monolithic homogeneous wall system. It was done in England for a long time. There are, even though you've never heard of Cobb here, there are about 20,000 Cobb houses in Devon County, England. Some of them 500 years old. You want to go inside?
Sure.
Okay. So anyway, this is our Cobb guest cottage, and Cobb is, seeing the walls over here will illustrate to you how Cobb is a system where unlike adobe, where the earth, sand, and straw are made into rectangular blocks and then stacked up, Cobb is a system where it's literally sculpted from the foundation up.
Really is.
So lots of people have fallen in love with Cobb because it's so intuitive.
It's an organic
sculptural.
feeling. I mean, it's sort of biological.
Oh, people love this building.
The ceiling.
The ceiling is made out of alder poles, which are gleaned out of clear cuts, and then above them are gunny sacks full of sheep's wool for insulation. So this is an example of what you might call hardcore natural building, where every effort is made to see to it that the materials are natural and therefore presumably non-toxic and so forth. And Cobb has the potential to be the most genuinely sustainable building approach that I know of. where you take, if the straw were harvested from a field, and if the sand were harvested by hand from a stream, you could literally have what you'd call a genuinely sustainable approach to building. And I mean in the real hand-built house. You take earth, you make a house, and then the house can dissolve back into the earth from which it came. So it's a genuinely cyclical process. That's the idea.
And sweet and lovely to enjoy in between.
Oh, people love these buildings. People are in love with Cobb. It's all the rage among sensitive hippie artists, back to the land, granola eating types. Yeah, like me. Yeah. Sensitive new eating granola, new age granola eater. Anyway.
Okay, let's see what else you got.
Yeah, let's go. The garden here at Maitreya certainly doesn't produce all the food we eat. It doesn't produce 10% of the food we eat, but it's a start, and when push comes to shove, I think that every square yard of arable land in an urban environment will be lovingly, meticulously cultivated if it means people's survival. Right now we have the luxury of wasting so much food with our petroleum-dominated agricultural system spewing CO2 into the atmosphere and destroying our topsoil. And one example of that is this truckload of free food I have over here. I picked this up just today. We get this a couple times a month. It's ostensibly we get it as compost. We're supposed to compost it because according to them it's not fit for human consumption, but these boxes are filled with delightful food that's already been picked over quite a bit because it's been here for a few hours and people have been coming, but look at all the broccoli and all those peaches. And during the winter there's even less spoilage because it's cooler. You know, right now it's a little on the warm side, but you know, we get all this free food. And
lettuce. You could feed 40 people, 20 people from this.
I fed them a bunch of Saturday market food, but not any greens.
They're going to be happy.
Yeah. Oh, they love people food. We feed them this commercially produced chicken feed, and they're kind of ambivalent about it, you know, because they always have it available to them. They're like ho-hum.
This is special.
But I go to the market downtown every Saturday, and there's all this food that people are throwing into the trash cans that they didn't finish eating. So I go around like some homeless chump, you know, pulling it out of the trash cans, you know, and putting it in this plastic bag, and then bringing it in. The chickens are wild about it. They love people food, especially cooked rice. You know, they're just wild about it. So,
I love it. Oh, that's
and
great.
they're such sweet chickens. I just love them.
Well, you know, this is about living sustainably and not wasting. I mean, there is no waste in nature.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you're living it.
A tree falls down in the forest, it produces no toxicity and no waste, and it ultimately results in another tree. What better model of sustainability is that, you know?
Food.
Right.
Yeah. Food. From the standpoint of genuine sustainability, I've agonized with how to do paving because the city requires that we have driveways for these darn things. And so what I've arrived at is making these rectangular pavers. I make them myself, and I call them my urban fossil pavers because I make each one creative and unique, where I embed tile and leaves and things like that in them so that they really are like fossils. Here's a colorful broken plate that I put in there, sort of an exploded view of the plate. There's another plate right there to the left near the tire of that icky car.
How pretty. And I like this, the leaf embedded in the concrete.
So it really is like a fossil. And the idea with these pavers is that instead of say someday when this driveway needs to be turned into a garden, we won't, you know, tear it up with a jackhammer. We'll just pick these things up and then use them elsewhere. And this is like what they do in Europe with the pavers that they use for the streets and these big slabs of granite that they use for the sidewalks. They can pick them up, lay a pipeline underneath them, and then put them back down. Whereas we just come in and jackhammer everything up, and all that rubble goes away to some sort of a landfill environment. Yeah. Anyway, let's go upstairs. This house is the house where Melanie and I live. It's constructed similar to the triplex I showed you earlier. where 95% of the wood is harvested in a sensitive manner. Notice I don't use the word sustainable, but the idea is that we're not using soybean oil in our chainsaws, but we're trying not to devastate the forests when we harvest. Here's our
solar dryer.
Our solar clothes dryer, yeah, and we have a drying rack on the inside that's above our wood burning stove. I can show you. Yeah, go on in.
Oh, this is nice.
So this is where Melanie and I live, and again, I wanted to make it beautiful. I think one of the main, here's our drying rack here. Those are raspberry leaves drying.
And then you pull it up, and is it pulley?
It goes up and down with a pulley, and we put our clothing on it to dry it during the winter, or I dry it here during the summer. It's simpler than putting it out there on the line. A major issue where sustainability is concerned in building is building houses that are beautiful so that people will love them and care for them and maintain them and cause them to last centuries instead of decades. Every day there are butt-ugly track houses going to landfills after being after standing for 40 years, and it's an absurd waste of resources. And so one of the many features of this house that harkens again to the pattern language book is the window seat, where people enjoy hanging out and snuggling, and we have all this storage underneath it, and then we have these big cuddle piles here where we sit around and chat.
What a radical thing!
Yeah, what a radical thing!
Yeah. Cuddle pile.
We cuddle, yeah. I mean, really, yeah.
Yeah. Somebody in my community.
Yeah. People in community like to touch each other's skin and know that we're all human beings. Yeah, what a concept. Yeah.
We've lost that.
And one thing I wanted to call your attention in this house is the difference between old growth wood and tree farm wood. And this flooring is 2x6 T&G flooring that is recycled. And if you look carefully, it has the really tight grain pattern indicating that it was a very large and very old tree where the growth rings are very close together. And then over here, if you look at these two stair-step risers, you can see the distinction. This one here is from a tree farm where the rings are as much as 5/16 of an inch across, the growth ring. So there's just maybe 20 years of growth represented there. Whereas this one is from an old growth tree where the rings are more like a 32nd of an inch apart, meaning that it was a very big, very old tree. And they're both Douglas fir, but to the untrained eye, they would be the same. But to those of us that know about this, it's like night and day. It's almost like two different species of wood. And this is a much more structural, much harder, and I feel much more beautiful wood here, the old growth stuff that we must try to preserve and not totally liquidate.
Turn it into trees, but
Yeah.
reuse it and reuse it when we can.
Yeah, reuse it whenever possible. And harvest, you know, it's okay to harvest some old growth forests. I just don't want to see them totally devastated by clear cutting. If you can go in and very lovingly take out a few big trees here and there, then the forest ecosystem can be retained for generations to come, and that's fine, you know.
Thank you. This has been the most wonderful tour. I am just so
thank you.
excited to get to be here and learn all the, and see it. It's real. It's not just ideas.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And then we were going to go upstairs and look at the view out the window, which sort of overlooks the garden and the triplex. You want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. I felt guilty enough building a three-story building to the south of their yard. It's a kind of a dilemma trying to achieve greater density on one hand and wanting not to shade anybody on the other hand. But it was a choice I made.
Some basic privacy and all of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
If I were them, I'd build a building immediately to the north of this one that's similarly tall. You want to hear my biggest pet peeve where a green building is concerned?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the entire economy is stacked against us because none of the true environmental social costs of the way we do things are accounted for in the bottom line price we pay. You know, when you buy clear-cut lumber, you're not paying the true cost of lumber. You're paying $2 for a 2x4, but you're not paying the cost of destroying forest ecosystems. when you buy commercially grown food, you're not paying the cost of petroleum-based, pesticide-heavy agriculture.
And the water that gets polluted, and the people that get sick, and the people that are dying of cancer. Yes, all the costs.
So the people running the world always say, oh, we've got to let the free market decide, because after all, the communism is dead, and so capitalism is the only option. So therefore, the free market has to make these decisions. Well, the supposedly wise hand of the free market is a blathering idiot hand of the free market, because these true environmental, social costs are externalized out of the picture. So I love what Paul Hawken suggests, which is restructuring the tax system where we would gradually eliminate income tax, but replace it with taxes placed on environmentally undesirable goods and services, so that there be this automatic incentive. You know, when the true costs of commercially grown food are accounted for, then organically grown food will automatically be cheaper.
Rise to the top,
and people will automatically buy organic. It'll be a no-brainer. Why would anybody do anything else? And the same with clear-cut lumber. If gently managed wood was priced lower than clear-cut lumber because the true costs were accounted for, then people would automatically build houses out of wood that came out of forest ecosystems in a gentle, sensitive manner. So the entire economy is stacked against me.
Yes,
you know,
that's right.
Here
It
trying
certainly
to do
is.
this
I mean,
work.
it's been created by a system that wants to keep itself going.
Yeah.
It's got everything backwards from an ecological point of view.
And lots of people have made big piles of money by externalizing the true costs, and they don't want to see that
And
end.
now it's coming back to, I mean, we're paying for it. I mean, climate change is one of those ways that we're going to be paying for
We're passing the costs on to future generations, and also we're passing the costs overseas to children with brown skin who suffer a much worse life than they should. Yeah.
Rob, what I really appreciate is you're doing the big picture. I mean, you're doing it practical on the ground with your hands, with the earth, with your buildings, and so on. But the consciousness that you have about it's not just about building. It's about loving.
Yeah, it's about changing the world, a whole different. I'm working on a book right now, and the theoretical, the tentative title is Toward a Complete Bottom-to-Top Restructuring of Human Civilization.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all. just a little weekend
just a
project.
little,
yeah. You know.
This is peak moment, and this man is writing the world's next home. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Join us next time.